Good evening. Welcome to Expression in Painting by Paul Crimi. Tonight I'm not going to paint a painting. What I'm going to do is show you a series of paintings that I've done in prints that go way back till I was 15. This particular print is an linoleum cut or a lino cut, and I did it when I was 15 years old, 55 years ago. Seems like yesterday. And it was 12 by 12, and I carved out, and I called it Inner City. 3 or 4 of these linoleum cuts when I was a youngster won big awards. In fact, I've been doing linoleum cuts my whole life. I have a series here of linoleum cuts that I want to show you. This particular one, I'm a member of the Boston Printers, and they had a show 2 years ago, judged by James Dine, the pop artist, and he picked one of these pieces. There was like 6,000 entries, and I only took 149 pictures. This was one of the ones they picked, of my daughter Ellen. He wrote down that it was elegant and had a very serene feeling. I have a series of those that I did. Here's 2 more. My daughter went to Pratt in Brooklyn, New York, and she was 18 and 19 at the time. Sent me some photographs, and I sat down and I did these linoleum cuts. And every time I look at them, it brings back the memory of her being 18 or 19. Now she's 46. You know, life is fast. In that series, I did a bunch of different prints. This one here, I really love this. I have this in my studio. I did this little print right here, and it's called The Kiss. And what I did was, when I carved it, I set it up so it would be multiple, so it would connect. So what I did was I printed it and cut out the prints and put them 3 across, and then flipped it over and put them on top and 3 across. And you have to realize when you do a linoleum cut or a print, everything you do is in reverse. So there's a lot of thinking that goes on into something like this. You have to really use your imagination and your soul to find your way around one of these prints. These are the most realistic out of the bunch. Let me put this over here. This particular series, you'll like this. It starts off black and white. There was 2 prints. There was this one and this one. And these are wood cuts. The same as a linoleum cut. You have to carve it, but it's on a piece of plywood. And you carve it, and it's in reverse, and then you print it, and it comes out this way. And then I take the print and I carved another one of a man right here. I'll have that print too. Right here. That was separate so that these 2 would be man and woman. And then I take it and I hand color it. And it comes out like this. And when I print it, I put the plates side by side so there's no space. And I call this the dream. Here it is again, separate, this piece, and then this piece goes here, and this piece goes there. But see, it's separate, so it has the white space between it. I'm sorry, it goes like this. So you have a lot of fun when you're doing stuff like this. I've been doing these forever, since I was a little kid. Here's that same print again. And I multi-print them. I have a whole series of them, and then I play with the colors and the feeling and the design. And here's the one with the man, hand-colored. So you can see the fun that I have with these. I think they're exciting. All right. Oops. Put this over here. Here's another woodcut, and behind it, it's called 3 vases. Of course, you can see the 3 vases. And it's all carved in wood, and it's all in reverse. So when you print it, it comes out the other way. You have to think that way when you're a printmaker. And then I hand color it. And this is the way it comes out when it's hand colored. It has a nice feeling. I love both. As a printmaker, I like black and white the best. I'm also make plates. I made this in 1982, and I printed it in 83. It's called conceptual projection. It has all of this. Well, this was an etching, and then it's aqua tinted. When you do an aqua tint, first of all, when you do an etching, you cover the plate with a varnish, and you draw all of these lines in with a drawing tool. Then you put it in nitric acid, and it bites into the plate, and it prints these lines. And then you take the plate out of the acid, and you print it. And after you print it, you take the plate, and you spray it with a spray paint in these areas, and you put the varnish on the areas you don't want it to have these dark spots. And then you put it back in the acid for a few minutes, and it does this beautiful aqua tint. And that's how you get this particular print. The beauty. This is another one, same process, same time, back in the 80s. I think this was 84. Same kind of feeling, same thing, all of that scratching and etching, all done by hand. Laborious, and then you have to print it. It takes a long time to learn how to print like that. This one was done in 95, and the same way, you put the varnish on the plate, put it in nitric acid, take it out, and then do this whole area. And it's called Dancing Woods. It's more realistic. I want to show you the black and whites and get them out of the way. This particular piece, I have been printmaking for my whole life. And when I had my knee replaced 4 years ago, I had to stay home for 7 days. Terrible. I cannot stay home. So what I did was I cut up all of these old prints that I weren't very happy with. And I put them in a big box. And so when I replaced my knee and I went home, I had all of these boxes of all of these pieces. And for 7 days, I glued these pieces together. Now, if you're on Facebook, you've seen this. It's called Lost World. It's a collage. It's one of my favorite pieces. It has such dynamic power. I love the effect of black and white. You can see all of the stuff. And this is the big box of cut-ups. It's like a little kid playing with toys. You take one piece, you glue it, and you put it down. And every single piece seemed to fit. This piece here, one of my favorite pieces, and it's called We Don't Know the Time or the Hour. Some of the pieces are misbehaving. They need to be re-glued. I didn't have any glue. But moving these things around, you have to be very careful. And so you see all of the stuff that's going on. I think it goes like this. Yeah, that's how it goes. And to me, it's called We Know the Time of the Hour. And it has that feeling of when is the end of the world going to happen? And it tells me that we don't know. And it's that kind of feeling. So I got approached by a group asking me to do something on pro-life back in the 70s or the early 80s. And I did this black and white sketch. I don't think they were too happy with me because it was a little too far out for them. But this was my interpretation of pro-life. Here's the figure, the mother, the mouth, the chin, the eye. And right here is the infant in the womb with the umbilical cord. And to me, it's all embracing, all love. But it was so far out for them. They didn't take it. They just said, it's a little too far out for us, Paul. So you can see that I love black and white. So I brought a couple of these flower arrangements. I've been posting this on Facebook too. And somebody wrote to me and said it was very sad. And I said, absolutely not. A painting like this is a rejoicing kind of feeling. Black and white is the whole thing of color. It's all color combined. It's very passionate, very strong. In fact, the only paintings in my living room, in my house, are paintings like this. My wife absolutely loves these black and white flower paintings. I brought a second one. This one's a little more abstract. I probably have 100 of these, 150 in a drawer, and to pick a couple to bring. But this is Japanese ink, and there's something about the ink in the paper. I have a great time when I'm painting these. I love the fact that they come out. I want to go to these paintings. These go way back. There's 3 of them. I start with the black and white. It's called the family. The father, the mother, and the child. And it's, I don't know, it's got something. And they did this in '84. And I just loved the effect of it. The family. And then I did these series of spill paintings. This one's called Seekers of Love. I probably did 100, 150 different paintings on canvas and on paper. And they are so strong. I never showed them. I just put them in the drawer. I have a whole drawer full of them. I just like them so much. But I've sold them throughout the years. People have gone through my drawers in the studio. Sounds like they've gone through my drawers. In the studio, and I have these people that come in all the time, interior designers and seekers, and they're looking for something different. And they'll find a few of these, and they'll purchase them. And when they're framed, they look great. I mean, like Jackson Pollock, but they're not as Jackson Pollock. They're more figurative. And I really love the feeling of them. This particular piece I did in '87, and it was part of a traveling show that went to Australia. It went all over Australia. I was in a printing group, Monoprints, and they got picked to pick some pieces, and they picked one of mine, and they just traveled all over Australia. It's figures again. I love all of the action in the background. It seems like it was just yesterday, but it was '87. It's scary when you think how fast time goes. I'm going to show you a series of watercolors that I do. This one's called The Door, and it's this little cross and heaven and all of these. And you're going to see a lot of this. These figures are people, and they're all transcending through time and space, going into heaven through the cross. That. This piece I've been posting for a long time now, and it drives people crazy. It's called The Tablet. And I love this piece. It has such power, and it looks great on Facebook. It really does. It jumps off the TV or the screen, whatever it is. It just has a real nice power. If you saw it in real life, it's just overwhelming because the colors are just vibrant and alive. And it's really powerful. This is another one of those paintings that I've been posting a lot. Let me flip these around so we don't get in the way. I just started posting this. I just photographed it a while back, and I'm trying to think of the title. Oh my God. I have 6,000 of these things in my head and in my studio in the drawers. I have 15 flat files filled with beautiful pieces like this. I think this is Freedom, Great Freedom. That's the title of this one. And these are angels, and they're going through all of this, and they're taking all of these people home. And you see all of these figures and all of the work. This one here, I saw the movie Awakening with Robert Williams and De Niro. And it was a real powerful feeling. And I came back and I did 2 or 3 paintings. So here's this person in this coma. And there's all of this stuff going on around him. And he says that he was like a panther walking back and forth in the movie. And when he came back out of the coma, he could communicate. And he was only out of the coma for about a month and then went back into it. But this is that feeling of all of that he sees, and all of the prayers and all of the things that go on. There's another one. There's a whole series of these watercolors. I love the effect of these watercolors. And these watercolors were done, I think, in the 70s or in the 80s. I think in the 80s, maybe the 80s. I'm still doing them. This is different levels. They're moving through all of these different levels. This inner city. They're going through a cleansing at the beginning, and then they're going higher and higher. Almost like Interior Castles by Sister Teresa of Avila. This particular piece I post all the time. Let me put these away. And again, great freedom. If I have a title on one piece, I seem to stay with that particular title. And then again, you got these white figures, and then there's all this chaos in the colors. And then you finally rise above all of that, and you're free. So that's what this great freedom means, to get on the other side and to be at peace. We're struggling with that all our time. It's another piece that's really strong too. They're all strong. They're all quite powerful in the sense that they're easy to manipulate. Here we go. See the colors? There's angels at the top, and there's people moving on the sides, and then there's prayers, and everything's rising up. So they could either be prayer tablets or whatever. Yeah. This piece I post with the great freedom all the time, and it looks so funny on Facebook, but when you look at it, it has a lot of energy. And people would say to me, you go from doing these beautiful landscapes and these gorgeous ocean scenes to this wildness. And I said, this is energy. This is the pureness of us. We are pure energy after we leave this world. And this is the energy in the form, and it's all taken up, and it's all rising up, and it's all becoming one. That's what we're all that. We are one in each other, and one in God. So this whole thing is becoming one. And that's what this great freedom means for me. This piece has won 2 or 3 awards for me throughout the years. I put them in different shows, and they've won. It's called Rise Above Temptation. When I put it on Facebook, I never put temptation, and I just rise above. See, this is our banner, and it's all flowing. And then all of these figures are going through this, and they're getting on the other side, and the prayers are all around it. And so we're rising above the temptations of our lives to get onto the other side. And that's what this is all about. And it's a strong, strong piece. In fact, I get a lot of people telling me how much they like it. This particular piece, I did a series of shattered dreams. And this is one of those pieces. This is one on paper, and some of them I did on canvas. And some of them I did with spray painting. And so we have this perspective in life, and it's really what we set up in our minds and what we want, and it gets busted up into a million pieces. And how do you deal with it? Well, this is what I did. We compartmentalize it, we set it in its place, but we get on the other side of it because you have to continue. You have to get on with it. And so we realize somewhere along the line that we have assistance, the guardian angels, God, whoever, great power, great love, and that's how we take the shatteredness and the brokenness and we become one again. So that's what this piece is all about. So I take all of this stuff and I put it into prints too. These are old prints that I did in the 70s, and then I take them and I rework them and I color them. And so this one's called the Old Temple. It's all coming down. In 3 days, I will rise up again and build a new temple. That's what this is all about. He's torn down the old temple. He is the living God and the living temple. So this is this whole experience right here of the new temple. So I got into doing some angels. I probably did, I don't know, 300 or 400, maybe even more. This one was on the cover of the Upper Room one year on their Christmas issue. You can see why. It has that kind of cheerful Christmas. It's Christmas angels. In it, the watercolor, I take it and I draw it all out in magic markers, and then I hand color it. And it has this really beautiful flow. And I think some of them are whimsical, and some of them have a sense of humor. I don't give them any particular face. I just let them have their own way. This cheerfulness. This is like an Easter angels. I love the purple and the red and the green. Really cheerful, happy. That was done in 92. This one was done in 99, and this one was done in 99. As you can see, this is really like Picasso-ish. I mean, it's got a real funny sense of humor. They're like, this face is like really talking to this face, and it doesn't have any real facial expression or contents because it's a spirit. But it's fun. All right, here's some of my figures. I went through a time where I was doing a whole series of painting on paper. And this one here deals with that. We're continually being guided by something other than ourselves. So that's what this whole series was doing, and I was being led to do. The same with this. Again, all of these figures. There's always movement. There's always these white figures directing all of the movement in all of the chambers. So this one's called prophetic spirits. And it's spirits directing us and guiding us. I could get carried away and have some fun too. This particular piece looks like I had a great time. Let me pull these out of the way. The colors in this are so vibrant. They're so warm and cold, warm and cold. There's a battle going on. And it's a spiritual thing. And everything is rising up. All of that energy. And this is what color does for me. It gives me the, you know, in order to be a colorist, you really have to master black and white. If you want to learn how to use color, do a year or two of just black and white. I did 4 years of nothing but black and white. And it paid off because it taught me values. It taught me the depth of the colors. It taught me how to use color. This is another one of those pieces with a lot of movement and a lot of chambers and a lot of activity. All of these figures, all of this energy. It's the sea. The sea is us, humanity. And God says, well, I'm going to make you fishers of men. So that's what we are. He's out there fishing for the men, pulling them out, bringing them home. And these are all of the brothers and sisters waiting. This is what I get out of looking at these, and then when I'm doing them, I have no idea where I'm getting this from. It just flows through me like a dream. But it comes out on the paper. This piece here, this is a real strong piece. I've posted this on Facebook quite a few times, and this one's the second coming. He's taking us home. All of us are rising up. Here's the horse. Here he is. Here's his face. And all of the power. And he's just lifting us up, and we're all going home. He's got the wing. You see all of this. If you look, it's difficult to explain these things to people, but the more you look, the more you see, the more that you get to understand. Abstract art is not abstract. We are abstract, but not the art. The art's telling us a story. I'll show you. I got started writing a letter one day, and I said, I'm going to do something really wild. I'm going to write a letter to God. I have no idea what it's going to say or what it means. So I did this, and I said, wow, it really has this tremendous power. There's something about the written word. And this is a flow. And some people say, well, what does it mean? Well, it's speaking in tongue, and this is writing in tongue. This is talking to God. This is the rhythm. This is the way I communicate with God. And I started to push it. I started doing let's make it a little stronger. This is just recently now. Like 3 or 4 years ago I did this. Here's another one. And you'll start to see they're starting to change. The colors are starting to there's more activity. The words are there. But the activity and the energy and the flow is there. And it's starting to move. Here's some more. I posted this up recently, a whole series of these, and I got a great response. People were saying, wow, what are you doing, Paul? Is this what you're doing now? And I said, no, this is what I did for a while. I wanted to communicate something, and it was so deep inside of me that I figured out a way, and this was the way. I started writing letters to God and saying whatever I had to say. And I started to feel a lot better about everything that I was going through at the time. And they kept going on and on. You see, the activity, the flow. It's almost like I don't know, I think it goes like this. Yeah. Then you start to see the rhythm. And see, if you can do any kind of art, and everything you do has a reason and an understanding and a conscience all of its own. These pieces, someday, people will look at them and say, my God, what was this person doing? And he can say to you, this was the second one. I should have showed this second. But it started to put a pattern underneath and then the writing on top. And so we're in a box, or we're in a temple, or we're in a place, and then we're starting to write and get free. And we want to be in another place. We want to get free from that box. And we want to get on the other side. And that's what this was all about. Set me free. I want to be on that move. Just one more. And this one here got really wild. Started to see, it lost that linal, and it just became swirls, and almost like these are like dancing figures. I don't know how these come out. They just came out. And if you watch Jackson Pollock spill the paint all over the floor, like I did when I was a kid, I could see where he was coming from. But this was on a table with, I used the fabric paint that they use for T-shirts when I did these. And I used watercolors, and I used acrylics, and I used some printmaking. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on in these. And you know something? I never showed these to anybody. You people on Facebook and now are getting to see them. Oh, this piece here is really wonderful. You know, there's bubble wrap. Everybody has bubble wrap. Well, I took the whole sheet of bubble wrap and I put it on the etching press and I ran it through. And it went ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-boom. And all of the bubbles broke and it made these little marks on the paper. And then I hand colored each and every one of them. And then I put these figures in. And I call this Eucharistic People. That's the title of this. And when I did a show for the Catholic TV, I brought this piece. And they looked at it and they said, wow, yeah, I would have never seen that, Paul. But now that you're explaining, well, see, it's all of the colors of the rainbow. It's all the colors of humanity. It's everything that we stand for. A circle is one. And so all of these, and we all become one with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so you look at it and it doesn't mean anything. And then somebody explains it. And you start to get into your head of where he's coming from and what it means. I did a whole series of these I used an etching plate, and then an old etching, and I hand colored it, and then I used the fabric paint again. And these are my angels, and they're all the blue angels looking to guide us and direct us. That's what this one's all about. I had a friend of mine that I met when he was 81, and I knew him till he was 97, and he was a leaded glass expert. And I did a whole bunch of different paintings and drawings for him. This one here I designed as a church window for him. And you see all the figures on the bottom, and here's Christ right here. And then there's heaven up there with all those serene, beautiful, soft colors. I did about 10 or 12 of these beautiful pieces, and they either sold or I gave them away. I don't know what happened to them all, but this is the only piece I got left. And I could never part with it. It meant too much. And I probably did this one in 82 or 83. Here's another one. These are the gathering of our brothers and sisters. And there's a group of us. We're all, the people that watch over us are all in energy robes, and they're all guiding and directing our lives. And that's how I see this particular piece. I had a bad experience in the 80s. I got toxic poisoning from, oh, I better slow down. I got toxic poisoning from spray enamel. I was doing a series of spray enamels. And so when I got out of the hospital, went through 6 months. I lost about 45 pounds. And I went through 6 months of recuperating. And when I got out through this whole series, I said, God, what was that all about? And he had me do this series of the multitude. And I did about 250 paintings in this series. And what the multitude is that we're all connected, we're all one. None of us, even though we're individuals and we do our own thing, but when we get to heaven, we're part of the body of Christ. And so in my mind and in this series, that's what this is all about. So we're all rising up. This is the multitude rising. And sometimes I post this on Facebook and I get a great response. People say, wow, how did you do that? Well, it's all the colors are painted early on the back, and then the figures are all floating up, are all painted individually. And so each piece has its own personality and its own time and space. And like I said, I did 200 pictures on paper and 150 on canvases. And I have a whole bunch of them still. I've sold quite a few of them. A lot of people, my son has a couple in his house, in fact. I think he grabbed the best. My oldest son has 50 or 60 paintings in his house. He's got a magnificent house. And he loved the multitude. And I loved the multitude because it spoke to me in a very personal way. It has this lifting up. And all of the paintings that I'm doing and showing tonight, they give you that lifting up feeling. I want you to celebrate art, to understand that abstract art isn't abstract. We're abstract. We have to learn how to see. I have this whole program for the last 25 years, not to teach you how to paint, but to teach you how to see. Teach you how I see is one way, but teach you how to see yourself. That's a whole other way. They say if you give a person a fish, you feed them. If you teach them how to fish, they feed themselves. Well, this is what art does. Teach you about how an artist sees and how he thinks and how he feels. It shows you a whole other realm of how you see. So take the multitude. So this is all in these colors. And then I did this whole painting in blue. You know, most people would say, oh my God, it's cold looking and it has... Oh, I think we spend half our life in the freezer. We're cold. We have to get thawed out. We have to come into this warm, loving, caring, compassionate kind of person that we're supposed to be. So these people are caught up in that, and they're trying to get free. And the people in the white robes are assisting them. They're talking to them. They're whispering in their ear. And they're communicating. And it's all about love. And it's all about we are here for each other, and that's all that matters. And we're going to show you how to get there. and they're going to direct us, guide us, and bless us. So this is what this is all about. So the blue, and you can see how it fades away. It gets less and less. The dark pieces are less and less rising. And there's a few in brown. Or it could be off orange. But this is a very subtle, quiet piece. Every time I look at it, it gives me the chills, because I know that we all go through a stage in our lives when we have to be thought out, and we don't even know it. This piece was done in '86. In this one, there's harmony and peace, but this is in the spiritual realm. This is in the earth realm. A lot of these paintings were done in different stages, so that I had to go through the process of figuring out what I was doing while I was doing it. And I only grabbed a few of these because I moved on to another realm, and the paintings changed. And when I called up into His glory, they went from these figures that are just stationary, that are standing there waiting. And we're all waiting for something. We're all looking for something, and we're all waiting for something. And that's that awakening. That's that calling into a better place. We don't even realize it. And then when we do, we're blessed. So that's what this is all about. They're all standing around talking and looking and trying to figure out what's going on, what this is all about. And then we come into the next realm. This one's called up into His glory. And I probably did, and this one was done 1988. And I probably done about 75, 80 paintings in this particular series. And I did them on canvas, and I did them on paper. And everybody's rising, and it's coming out of this dark, self-evaluating, self-esteem, self-glorification. And they're busting out of that, and they're called up to His glory in a split second like that. And so that's all left behind. And all of these white figures are guiding them and directing them. And they're set free. And now they become pure energy, pure love, unconditional love, and they're free. And they've gone home. And this is that journey. And that's what this is all about. So each painting that I did in this stage, I went through this. And you know, it's funny because I didn't share these paintings with a lot of people, but I had people come to the studio and they'd go through the different files and they'd look at them. And I had a couple that, one of the girls from my prayer group, Anne, a French woman, and she sat beside me for years and years and years. And she said she wanted to come, her and her husband, to the studio. And they came, and I figured she wanted to buy a flower painting or a landscape. No, we want to look at some of the religious pieces. Well, they spent 8 hours in the studio one day, and they took home a portfolio. They wound up buying 10 or 12 pieces, and every one of them were spiritual. Some of the paintings that they bought, I wouldn't even show. And I wouldn't have ever sold it to anybody but her, because I knew her so well, and I still know her. And she's a great friend. And I go to her house a lot, and I look at the work, and I say, God, I love that piece. So I feel like it's in my house. Like I said, my wife has black and white flower paintings. In my bedroom, I have 13 black and white religious paintings of Christ all over the walls. And my wife says, it's like a monastery. I said to my wife one day, if I pass before you, you give these to Father Mike. And she says, if you pass before me, I'm not giving them to anybody until I pass, because I love those pieces. So, you know, I lived with this lady for 48 years. I don't know how she feels about this stuff. We talk, and we don't, you know, we do talk, but do we listen? You know, do we communicate? I don't know. But when she said that, I was thrilled, because it made me feel so much better. Like, I took those pictures in my bedroom, and every year I take them to French Memory in Cohasset. Ann owns this bakery. And I hang them up for 40 days. And I took a few people from a Lutheran church to my studio and gave them a Bible study like I'm doing now with you. And I showed them a whole bunch of these paintings. And I got a call a couple of days later from one of the husbands. Said, I'm interested in Who Touched Me. There's this little picture like this that I did, and it's the mob and then the white figure in the middle. And it's my favorite pen and ink of all the 13 and the 14, it was 14, now it's 13. Of the 14 pictures in my bedroom, that was my favorite. And I said to my wife, this man wants to buy Who Touched Me? She said, well, offer him a ridiculous price. So I said, okay, it's like this big and that long. And I said, $2,700. He said, okay. Oh, by the way, my wife saw a watercolor that she loved, and she wants to buy that. And they came to the studio, and she spent $3,700 for the watercolor. Now, this was a little Bible study of 7 women and the minister's wife. Do you think that I was going to sell 2 paintings to a person? Not in a million years. But I know that that was a kiss from God on each cheek, 2 times. But I still missed that piece. In fact, I missed that piece so much, I took the etching of that piece and went and printed it and have one framed and have it in my bedroom. I tried to sell him the etching. I really did. I gave him a great price on the etching. No, I think I want the original. So this man knew what he was looking at. So this is called up into his glory. I got one piece here I must have slipped it in. This is kind of neat. Little Melissa thought it looked like, what did she say? Rabbit. But they're angels, and they're people becoming, being brought in. And life is like this, squares and colors. Orange and blue are opposite. And I see it as this energy that's continually turning us around in circle. The blue, and then the orange, and then it goes around and around. And all of these figures are in compartments. And that we seem to do that with our lives. We put ourselves in a little box, and we're happy there. We've got it all figured out. We think we have all the answers. And we keep doing the same thing day after day after day. And then something breaks, something snaps. We wake up one morning and something's not right. And that's when we have an awareness. And that's when we start to move from the box to another dimension. And if you haven't done that, then you're still in that box. That's okay. You're supposed to be where you are. But I tell you, when I come out of the box, this is whole experience is what I've been doing for the last 35 years. Because I'm standing at the museum school telling the professor, anybody who does religious art's crazy. And it's unbelievable nuts. And then my son has this terrible accident. And then all of a sudden my whole life changed. In an instant, everything had a different meaning. And that's what life is, a different meaning. So you got these figures, and he's brought you out of the box, and he's taking you through this whole awareness and bringing you home. Well, I did a whole series of these. We're getting to the end, but we got a few left. This oneness again. I'm still doing some of these. I just did a whole series. These are all objects that I've inked up, and I've put them on a plate, and I've made plates, and I've printed them, and then I've hand-colored them. So this is dealing with moving parts into oneness. That's what we are. We're moving parts, and we're becoming one with God, and we're all connected. And so this with a whole series of circles and objects are becoming one. Here's another one. This one, I think this one's a collage. That's not a collage, but this one's a collage. It's the same thing, but I've taken some of the older prints and I've glued them together. I think there's this piece, maybe 2 pieces, this one and the rest of it. And so we are joined together. It's like I'm going to put you in a vine, and we're part of the same vine, and you're part of the vine, and God's this vine, and this, that. We're all connected into this oneness by these circles. This one happens to be an etching that I did. Great. An etching that I did, well, I haven't got a date, but this 15, 16 different prints in this one plate that keeps putting on top of on top. And it's called the Time Traveler. We're all time travelers. We don't realize it. We're always going somewhere in our minds, and in the moment of meditation, we're in another place. And that's what this is all about. This whole meditation, the angels directing and guiding us. And I've been places that I have never been, and seen things that I've never seen. And yet I know that this exists, this whole inner directive guidance. We're always being directed subconsciously, and then when we come into the conscious awareness of it, we just deny it. But like a child born into this world, they come from God, and they're so wide awake, and they're so blessed, and they're looking at everything, and they're checking everything out. I love to bless them on the forehead because I know I'm touching God, because they just came from God. I've got a series of little paintings that I did. And before I get the paintings, I'll show you these. I have done these collages ever since I was a little kid. And every time I do these collages, I always do one of myself and one of my wife. And she gets crazy with me. But I think they're great because they're whimsical and happy and they're fragmented. And, 48 years of living with somebody, that's a challenge. I know. Our whole lives, all of these different parts have to fit together and float and come in and come out. And so I look at these, and I have maybe 50 or 60 different groups of these things that I've done. Done paintings, and I've done all kinds of things, my wife and I, and they never look the same. No, we're not the same anyways. Every year we change. Every day we change. So this whole whimsical kind of floating, up in the air kind of thing, I love it. It has this party. It reminds me of the Mardi Gras. And she has that look in her eyes, and I have that in mind. What is going on? We had 4 kids. All of a sudden, they're 4 adults. We had them when we were young. My wife just turned 66, and she was 18, and I was 21 and a half. And June 12th, we were married 48 years. And look at this, and I look at these prints, and I see all of the energy of those 48 years. This was probably done 5 or 6 years ago. And I have drawers and drawers full of these collages. And I've been offered money for these, but I won't sell them. I want the family to have them. Maybe they'll sell them when I'm gone. That's their prerogative. Whatever happens, we're not in control. That's the one thing you have to learn if you're an artist. You have to let go and go with the flow. Because life is not controlled by us. It's controlled by the energy that we live in the love that we give each other. So this particular thing, and people will say to me, don't do any self-portraits. You don't do a lot of the Van Gogh-ish kind of things. And I said, well, I do a lot of that, but I don't show a lot of it. I do it on Facebook once in a while. I'll post men and women, and it's really wild, these wild, funny faces. And they'll look at me, and they'll say, oh, I did Adam and Eve, too. And I post Adam and Eve. And everybody will say, they look like Picasso. Oh, this looks like Matisse. Or this looks... You're affected by every one of these artists. You studied them your whole life. And they studied everybody in front of them. And they're going to study everybody behind us. And people are going to study my work when I'm gone. And good luck. I mean, my favorite artist, there's a list. I'm not one particular person, but I love Van Gogh. I love Matisse. I love David Hockney. I love all of these certain artists, and there's certain qualities. And I say to myself, someday people are going to be looking at my work and saying, I love Paul Crimi's work. And people say it to me all the time on Facebook when I post these ocean scenes or these beautiful fields of flowers. And a lot of people like this kind of thing too because they like abstract, and they get upset with me and they say, well, why don't you post some of your abstract stuff? Well, I'm starting to photograph a lot of it and put it on Facebook. But, I have so many little people living inside of me, just like a whole world. And I want to celebrate every single one of them. So, like I said to you in the beginning, I'm going to teach you how I see and how I work and how my mind works. And I let go of all of the ifs and no's and can'ts, and I just do it. I tell people, if you set your mind free, you can do it. When you start saying, I can't do it, I'm not talented, I don't know what I'm doing, it doesn't work, you close every door. I went to the Matisse show in New York, and I came back. Oh, I just found one. This one here. This is the man I was saying. I post this. I couldn't find the woman fast enough. But this is the man, and then the woman's on this side. And I love it because it's got this look, and then it has this funkiness about it, and it's all of this. And I came back from the Matisse show, and I did a whole series of these. Probably did 150, 200 paintings like this, all different kinds. I got a few of them. And this is the man, and that's me. And like I said, I got the one of the woman. And when I post them on Facebook, I post the man and the woman beside each other or separate. And I laugh every time I do it because I say, there I am. This is the other side of my personality. If you can laugh at yourself, then you're free, because everybody takes themselves much too serious. And that's the sad thing. And there's one I post constantly, and it's, look up to the Lord. And you could see that's wonderfully happy. He's found out. He knows. And that, just a few lines, skip, dip, boom, and it says it all. You got your eyes raised to the right place, and you're looking towards Him, and you're smiling, and you got all of this energy around you. And you know, for sure, what it's all about. Look to the Lord, and everything you need is there. That's what this whole painting says. Oh, I found it. I didn't realize I had it. This is really funny now. Here's myself, and here's my wife. And she doesn't look as happy as I do. But I think that if you have a sense of humor and you think you're funny, you should be able to paint funny and look at yourself and say, you know, we go through all of this stuff, and yet we're still together. And we're still struggling with the same things that we started struggling with when we were kids. But there's circle, the three circles. This is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And He's in us. And that whole binds the whole marriage together. And all of the harmony and all of the love. And I have no idea what all this means. All I know is that when I look at these pictures, like I said to you, and I have tons of these things of me and her and I. And I look at them once in a while and I laugh because I say, someday we're going to put all of these in the show and they're going to say, this is the way he saw himself. Well, this is the way we see ourselves beyond what we are. That's what makes us who we are. So you have to have a sense of humor. And that pink around the edge is our humanity. And the blue is our spirit. I just think they're really far out. I got two more pieces left. And I don't know what this one was, but this kind of, it's just happy. I don't know if it's pregnancy. I did one on pregnancy because my son's wife had Taylor, and when she was going through this pregnancy, she was having a tough time, and I did a whole painting on that. And I was trying to find that one, and I couldn't find it. These were done in 1996. And this is the last one out of the whole entire group. And it's a face of frustration. And there's something going on and you can't answer the question. There's not enough happiness in this particular picture. And I think that it says that to me anyways. And I couldn't understand why it felt like that. And people will say, well, I don't see the face. So I said, well, here's the eyes, and here's the nose, and here's the mouth. And I don't know what all this is. But see, painting, to me, I have two more paintings. I got to go get them. This painting here, I mean, I laugh when I see this painting every time. This is Mother Mary and her cousin. And she's coming because she's pregnant with John, and she's pregnant with Jesus. And all of this stuff that's going on. I mean, didn't make a lot of my Catholic friends too happy because they have an image of Mother Mary that's completely different than mine. And you can see, I see it as a celebration, as the whole world is up and thither, because here is Jesus in the womb of Mary, and here's John the Baptist. And he jumps in his womb because he realizes he's in the presence of God. And all of the energy and all of the heavens and all of the power are just celebrating, and they're bursting out. It's like the 4th of July, ba-boom! Everything's blowing up in that second when he leaped in her womb. And that's what this painting says to me. Now, I don't know if the Catholics will ever accept the rite, but I don't care because I know what it means. It means it's a celebration, it's an awakening, it's the changing of the whole universe for mankind in that one split second. In this particular piece, this is a piece that I did on the weekend of 9/11. I saved it for last because the painting itself is huge. It's 4 feet by 6 feet. I couldn't bring it. So it's a print. But here's the buildings, and here's the rubble, and here's the souls. And they're all in their clothes, and then they're in a white robe, and they're rising up. And it's called 9/11 Holy Ground. Now, when I did this particular painting, I had people standing in front of it crying. I had to put it away because it was so emotional. I sent a copy of this to the fire department in New York and then the police department. And the fire department took this particular print all over the country. And they sent me a letter saying how much response they got and how pleased they were. In fact, someday I might take the painting down to the new museum or send a print. Let's see if they want to. Well, I haven't figured out what I want to do. I thought maybe I would donate it to the museum in Boston because I went to the museum school. I don't know. My oldest son says, sell it to the people in New York, Dad. He's a salesman. He's the greatest. He's the best. I think the world of him. Every second of my life, he's been a blessing. So this particular painting has such a deep, emotional, I wanted to capture a moment in our history that said something that we are in this moment forever. And that's what this does. Because every artist does something in his life that captures a particular time and space that makes him forever stamped in that moment. And that's what this painting does. Because people will stand in front of it and they're emotionally involved. And that's what I want. When I paint a painting like this, I want people to become some kind of emotionally involved. 3 minutes. All right. So what are we going to do? We've talked about all of these paintings, and we've brought them all up. Whoops. And I still haven't figured out what this one is. I know she's unhappy. But maybe this is a figure that's saying, okay, I'm searching, I'm lifting myself up. I think that that has this wave of energy underneath. See, every single line in the painting, everything that we do has a purpose. So it has a wave of energy. It has this flow. She has this look on her face. And it's very, very childish. You know what? Picasso said, in order to be a great artist, you have to be a child. You know, I love Picasso. He's sitting on a park bench, and somebody walks up to him with a pad of paper and says, "You Picasso?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "Will you do a sketch of me?" And he says, "Absolutely." He takes the pad, does the sketch, hands it to her. And she says, "Well, how much do I owe you?" And he says, $5,000. And she says, "Oh my God, it took you but 5 minutes to do this sketch." He says, "No, my dear, it took me a whole lifetime." See, you just don't understand an artist, how hard a life of an artist is unless you're an artist. And we are a body of believers and body of expanding our lives into another dimension to bring what we know and who we know inside of us to you, so that it'll help you see and understand how art works and how we feel about it. Because it is a passion to paint. It is a passion to do anything near that comes out of you that's passed on to each and every one of us is a blessing. So I want to thank you. God bless and good night.